everybody, it's Ashley from Thrive Physical Therapy coming to you with another 10-minute interval series targeted to a specific challenge that you or your loved one might be having. Today's video will be all about getting up from a surface. So whether that's getting up from a chair, getting up from sitting in a car, getting up from bed, it is something that a lot of my clients struggle with. So today's video, first I will talk you through a few tips for strategies to help you get up or your loved one get up more easily from a chair. And then we are going to get into our 10-minute interval training workout designed to specifically target challenges that are associated with getting up from a chair. Remember, this is not a substitution for individualized physical therapy from someone who specializes in your condition. I highly recommend, if your loved one or you have not yet been evaluated by a physical therapist for this challenge, that you do so. Again, this exercise video is not designed to substitute that physical therapy, but it is something that you could potentially add to your physical therapy program. It is something that could help you get up from various surfaces in addition to that skilled therapy. So today, let's go ahead and get right into it. So one of the challenges that many people who I see have when getting up from a chair is they go to get up too early. So they're sitting in their chair and then they get an idea in their head or they have to go do something, so they go to stand up right away without doing preparatory steps to get their body in a good position to get up. So I'm going to say there are 3 big factors when it comes to getting up from a surface. Things that you really need to be sure are done. The first step is scooting forward on the surface that you are on. If you are far back in a chair, of course it's going to be really hard to get up. So step number 1, which I will demonstrate in a second as well, is to scooch forward. Once you are scooted forward, the next step is to check your feet. Check your alignment of where your feet are in space. Many people I work with have Parkinson's disease or another form of Parkinsonism. People who have Parkinson's disease often have a hard time with a narrow base of support. If your feet are too close together when you go to stand up from a chair, you're not going to be successful. Feet should be apart, about the width of your hips. And the feet should also be tucked back so that they're underneath the knee joint, not too far forward. And also some people struggle with having their feet too far back. Again, I'll demonstrate that in just a moment. And then the third key component to standing up successfully from a chair is getting enough forward weight shift. A lot of people go to stand up and instead of leaning forward, they go to kind of stand straight up in the air. Again, a lot of my clients do this because they have a challenge with stiffness in their body. Parkinson's specifically manifests a lot of the time as rigidity and stiffness in various muscles, including the low back. So instead of putting forth the effort of leaning forward and pushing through that stiffness, which can be really uncomfortable for people, they go to stand up and they stand straight up and they don't get enough forward weight shift in order to have success to actually propel themselves to a successful standing position. So really quickly, I'm going to show you those 3 steps, and then we are going to get into our timed interval exercises, which are going to be 3 different exercises designed to target these specific challenges that people have with getting up from a chair. We'll do each of the exercises for 1 minute each, and we'll cycle through them for a total of 3 rounds, so it's a total of about 9 to 10-ish minutes of targeted exercise. So the steps first, as I was mentioning, if you're in a chair and you are back in the chair and you go to stand up, you get an idea, you need to go do something, you go to stand up and you're not forward enough, you're not going to be successful. Step number 1, always, always, always scooch forward toward the edge of the chair. Second step, check your feet. Are the feet too narrow? Are the feet side, splayed and not directly underneath the knees? If not, check the feet, plant them firmly underneath you. Really tell yourself or tell your loved one, connect to your feet. Feel your feet underneath you. Make sure the person has proper footwear on so that the feet aren't then I really need to make sure I get enough forward weight shift. A common phrase that many physical therapists say to their clients or their patients is nose over knees when they go to stand up. So think about really shifting forward so that the nose actually comes beyond the knees. But also, what's really important here is to really think about shifting all of your weight onto your feet. So it's not enough to just lean forward and have your nose over your knees if your weight also isn't adequately shifted over your feet. So shift forward, nose over knees, think about pressing through your feet and go to stand up all the way. Now, I made that look easy. I don't have any neurologic or musculoskeletal deficits, which would make it difficult for me to stand up, but at least you can get the idea of the 3 basic steps that always need to be followed before standing up from a surface that may be a challenging surface. Lower surfaces, more compliant or squishy surfaces especially tend to be challenging for folks. So let's go ahead and we're going to get into our 3 targeted exercises to help you or your loved one stand up from a chair. The 3 exercises will be done for 1 minute each, and I'll talk you through them first, and then we'll go through them so that you can use this video as an exercise video on an ongoing basis. You can just go ahead and scroll through this introduction and start right at the beginning of the exercises so that you can use it as something on an ongoing basis. The first exercise is simply leaning forward. So it looks like this. We are sitting in our chair, scooted forward. We're just going to practice leaning forward and sitting back up. Scooted forward, feet are underneath my knees. I'm just leaning forward and sitting back up. So we'll do that for a minute. I will add some variations to it so it doesn't get too boring. And then the next exercise we're going to be doing is standing. It's a squat. So if you have a hard time, or if your loved one has a hard time doing squats without holding on to something, I would suggest setting yourself up somewhere that you can hold onto something to help with the squats. The reason we're doing these squats is because it engages similar or the same muscles that we utilize when we come up to a standing position. So holding onto a wall is also an option for you to do your squat. Holding onto the back of a chair, holding on to, a countertop also. And then the third exercise is actually practicing sit to stand. If you or your loved one is someone who really has a hard time with sit to stand, it's important that you actually practice that movement repeatedly, safely, using good form and good technique. If you're really struggling from a standard chair with no armrests, grab a chair that has armrests, grab a chair that has a raised up cushion, or do it from a surface that you feel confident in to begin with, such as the edge of your bed. So let's go ahead and let me show you that big sit to stand. So it's not just a regular stand up. So our feet are apart. We're going to add some exaggeration to this movement. So if you can, you're going to reach forward big and then stand up nice and tall and big and open those arms. And then as you sit down, sit with control back to your seat. We're going to do that for a minute as well. Modify this as you need to. If this technique is too challenging for you, go ahead and just push down from the surface that you're sitting on in order to stand up. Some people may need to rock a little bit to use momentum. Some people may need a chair, as I mentioned, with armrests. So push down on the armrests if you need to. As you get stronger and get used to these movement patterns, you should be able to progress yourself, hopefully, to different strategies and techniques. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to put 1 minute on the clock. Find yourself in your chair with your feet apart, scooted forward. Hands are going to come right to the thighs. Lean forward, sit back up. So in this lean forward, I want you to really think about engaging your feet, pressing your hands down through your thighs, down through your feet, as you stretch out your lower back and just get used to that feeling of coming forward. As you lean forward, think about this being one of the steps that you take when you go to stand up. So really leaning forward. Now let's take our hands off our legs, if you can, and just reach forward as you lean forward. Reach and lean, sit back up nice and tall. Reach and lean, sit up tall, reach and up. Let's move on to our squats. Get yourself in your squat position. So whether that's holding onto a wall for balance, holding onto the back of your chair for balance, I'll just give you a moment here to get set up. And let's move right into it. So you're gonna bend your knees, sit your hips back, and then stand up tall. Bend forwards, bend your knees, up nice and tall. Now some people can go quite low here, safely and confidently, and some people might be doing little baby knee bends here, and that's okay too. Everyone's body is different. Do what feels safe and right. We don't want any sharp pain here, no pain in the knees. If that's happening, that's a problem, and you need to either not bend so low, or consult your physical therapist about it. And down and up. We've got about 10 more seconds here with our squats. And now we're going to go ahead and get back in the chair. So have a seat in your chair. Let's get ready for our big sit to stands. Preparatory positioning. Scooch forward in your chair. Feet are apart. Feet are underneath your knees. Get ready to lean forward big. Feel your feet take on some weight and come up to stand nice and tall. Really spread your collarbone, extend through your chest, grow a couple inches through your spine. Sit back down and just continue to do that. Sit to stand, thinking about big exaggerated movements if you can. If you do 10 of them in a minute, great. If you do 2 of them in a minute, that is fine too. Just do what your body is capable of doing today. And as you practice, get stronger, and your body gets used to these movement patterns, you'll be able to do more. Forward, up, forward, sit. And down. One more, let's do one more. We're not exact on the 1 minute, but that's okay. And on this last one, stay in your chair. Get ready for the reach forward. So you can reach forward, hinge at your waist, and then come back up to sitting. We're on our second round of 1 minute each of those 3 exercises designed to help you stand up more easily from various surfaces. Reaching, come on up. And you can switch it up. You can keep your hands on your thighs for a few repetitions, really thinking about engaging your feet, thinking about how your feet feel underneath you. A lot of people I work with have changes in their sensation. So they may not completely know where their legs are in space. So it's important to tune into that sensation to strengthen that as well as just strengthening your muscles. And shifting forward and back. We'll just do this for about 15 more seconds, and then we're gonna get into our squats. So you can even add a reach and an open to this, or just keep your hands on your thighs. Go at your own pace. I know for some people this is challenging because your back might be quite stiff. Okay, let's move back onto our squats. So I'll give you a moment to get into your squat position, your squat setup with the wall or a chair, or just out in the open. And if you're doing this with a loved one, you could also stand right in front of them. You could hold hands while you're squatting to really try to engage them and help them stay motivated and consistent through this workout. And down, up, work those leg muscles, hinge forward at your waist when you squat down. I'll just show you a side view, holding onto the wall as well. And perhaps your hands are on top of a counter here. Some people like to use the lip of a counter where the sink is. There's a nice lip there to really grasp. If you're fearful especially, that can be good. Good. Now let's head back to our sit to stands. So I'll wait for a second for you to get set up in your chair. And 1 minute is on the clock. So you're gonna stand up nice and tall. Make sure you had prepared before. So you're scooted forward in your chair. Your feet are underneath you. Sit to stand. On your own time, whatever you're capable of doing is perfect today. Just really try your best. And when you do this exercise video on a consistent basis, I would expect you to improve. More seconds here. So stand up nice and tall and lower with control, no clapping. Sometimes you have to reposition yourself after you come down. Make sure you're scooted forward again and you're in that good setup. Notice how much I'm leaning forward when I go to stand up, quite a bit. And this will be our last one, and then we will take it back to the top with our leaning forward for a minute. So this one is definitely lower intensity compared to the sit to stands and the squatting, and that's okay. Give yourself this time to catch your breath, and just move your body in a way that feels really intentional. Connect the exercise to function. Connect it to something that's important to you to get better at. It's so important to have that connection when you're exercising. The why is very important to identify. So maybe for you, it's you have a goal of going to the movie theater and being able to confidently sit up, stand up and sit down in a movie theater seat without worrying that you might plop or fall backwards, or without worrying that your friend or your loved one isn't going to be able to help you out of the seat. Whatever it is for you, try to connect to that while you're doing these exercises. Okay, let's get into our squat position, wherever that may be for you. And we're just going to squat it down, hinge at the waist, bend your knees, squat it down. Bend and hinge all the way up. Think about how this movement pattern is similar to the one you want when you're standing up from a chair or standing up from a bench or wherever you may be. And up, we've got about 15 more seconds. Keep on going with your squats at your pace. The important thing here is that you're hinging at your waist, you're bending through your knees, and then you're coming up nice and tall. Doesn't matter how many you do, just matters that you're going at your comfort level, so it should be a little bit challenging, but doable. Okay, find your seat again. This is our last exercise. Scooch forward in your chair, preparatory position. Hips are forward, feet are underneath your knees. Get ready to stand up. Nice and tall, spread those shoulders, and then sit back down. Stand up, sit back down. And back down. Now, if you have a walker or some kind of assistive device that you normally use, please feel free to have that in front of you when you do these exercises. And you could even do the squats with your walker as well. I should have mentioned that before. But you could definitely do that holding onto your walker for balance. and stability. Just be sure when you go to stand up, you're not pulling on the device to stand up. We never want that. We really want you to either push down from the seat you're in or don't use your hands at all to stand up. Pulling on the walker is not a good habit to get into. It's not safe or recommended. Let's do one more. Okay, well, that is our 10-minute interval series on helping you get up from a surface. I really hope that was helpful. Let me know in the comments below. This is a new YouTube channel and I'm trying to get a good grasp on what kind of content would be helpful for you. So please like, subscribe to our channel, and there will be more to come. Thank you for joining me today.